Hey boys and girls, Doug Giles here. It's Warriors Rich.
And Wildmen, what's happening, Doug?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, Rich, you know how I hate to do this, but 6 weeks going on 7 weeks. Number one, Psalms of War, prayers that literally kick ass. Brother, I think it's a God thing, man. I don't know about my other books.
I haven't read that one yet.
Well, go over to, I tell you what, send me an address, and I'll send you a love package. For the Warriors and Wildmen listener,
Deal.
Go to Amazon.com, click your mouse, melt your plastic. The Kindle and the paperback are hugging the 1 and 2 spots in Middle Eastern literature. I think people are pissed and they want to know how to pray, and they're not getting it from their church. You know, their church like, well, we're just going to have to trust the Lord. How about pray what David prayed, and God smashed their teeth?
Yeah, there's a weird thing, Doug. It's called pray, Lord, what do you want me to do?
Right. Or pray, God, roll up your sleeve and go whoop some ass, man. Because that's
Right.
what David did in our vernacular. He's like, God, turn the enemy into, let's see what? Oh, turn him into snail slime. Shatter the teeth of the
Strike
wicked
him on
of
the
God.
cheek and break his teeth out. I like that one.
Yeah, again, but that's a biblical prayer. But how many little tinkerpot pastors are praying that in their Tweedle their ballsack church? Nobody is.
Hey,
Nobody's
Doug.
saying it, and I think that's why the natives are so restless, and they love Psalms of War.
Well, they need to read the book because it's the Bible. In the book, you're talking about the Bible. A lot of people don't read their Bible, and they don't know about that stuff. They don't know where to read and find it. You know what I just heard? A guy who was an enemy to me. I wasn't an enemy to him. He's not. Look, you have to choose your enemies wisely because the Lord showed me this one day. Your enemies will define you. Moses was really defined by Pharaoh. And I had these little yapping dogs that I considered my enemies. And I decided one day, these people are not worthy to be my enemy. I need a better enemy to define me. Right? So this guy decided he was my enemy. I wasn't his. But a couple weeks ago, a tree fell on his house and literally busted his house in half.
Good
And I
Lord.
thought, when they told me that, I said, wow, it couldn't happen to a better guy. I didn't pray it because I didn't really care. But now that it happened, I'm like, go God. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, man. I don't want to say too much, but back in the day when I first got converted, I was dating this girl that she didn't have the conversion experience that I had. So she's kind of iffy, but I was, lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels, on fire for God, sold out, and, Mach 2 with my hair on fire type Christian. And she's kind of lackadaisical. And she would come to church with me. And her folks didn't live in Lubbock, Texas. That's where I was hailing from at that juncture. And when they'd come to visit, they knew me before I got saved, Rich. And then after I got converted, they didn't like me at all. They told me that they would rather me be on heroin than be a Christian. So their daughter, they made her get the heck away from me and brought her away from Lubbock back to their hometown. And bro, the carnage that came on their house is just stupefying. I mean, can you imagine telling a brand new, wet behind the ear, green little Christian that we'd rather you be on heroin than follow Christ?
No, that's a real thing. Woo. People are like that. They don't like it.
Yeah. So here's what happened. Her mother died, I think, a year later, very young age. I mean, not even 40. The house burned to the ground, and her brother was struck and nearly killed by a car. I tell you what, man, and again, I'm not Mr. Judgy Judge from Judgeville. I lean heavy, Rich, on God's grace because I'm a mistake-laden fool. That said, man, when people knowingly move into the satanic stupid zone, like David's enemies that I point out in the Psalms of War, and they start grinding on God's children, and they start talking smack and they try to destroy their lives. God defends his people, man. If you're a son or a daughter of God and you're quasi-righteous, trying to do the right thing, and we're talking you're not in sin, you're not doing something that's just stupid where you deserve a butt kicking. But if you're in the zone of relative righteousness and your heart's, pointed true north towards, the Father's wishes and will, then he's going to fight your battles, man. You can bet that. And people who try to hurt his little ones, I think Jesus said it's better for you to have a chunk of cement tied around your neck than try to offend his little ones.
Well, and I'll add a little note to that I think helps too, is that the person I'm talking about, some of the people that I considered that, like I said, they considered me an enemy. It wasn't that they didn't like me. It wasn't a personal issue. They attacked the ministry that I was doing worldwide, and it was out of jealousy. They knew what God was doing, but they weren't interested in what God was doing. They were interested in being in charge of what God was doing, and they attacked me in the place where I was doing what God wanted me to do. So it wasn't I just don't like you. Yeah.
So when you say they attacked you, I mean, like with hand grenades, cruise missile, they shoot a pellet gun at you. I mean, like what did these chicken critters do, Rich? Like what's attack? Just slander and BS and stuff like that.
A little of that, undermining my ministry in the U.S. with other pastors, going around just making up, not really making up stuff, just trying to talk crap like he's not a nice guy, which everybody already knows that meets me. That type of small time stuff. But
that's new news,
Yeah, but they were like playing politics in the group that I was working with, trying to get my position. So, my attitude about that was I immediately resigned my position and said, I quit. You can have it. I don't really care. Right. And then the people in charge said, no, you can't do it. You have to do you. So that's the way it is. So he was always doing that. So he got some legitimate beef on me from 14 years ago and went to my pastor and said, hey, blah, blah, blah. And so my pastor
14
said, hey,
years ago, man.
Yeah, he said, well, that was a long time ago. I already know about that. I got it.
Hello.
I'm his pastor. You don't worry about it.
Right.
And so since that didn't work, he got a group of people together and then confronted my pastor in front of these people. So it forced his hand to make some decisions. And so anyway, it was no good for me. I didn't care, man. But you know what the great thing was? He cried and said to me, how are your wife and your children? I said, hey, bro, here's the deal. You literally just tried to get me thrown in the road. You don't give two shits about my wife and my kids. Don't sit there and ask about them ever. And you're crying? That's all fake. I said, you bring up my wife and kids again, I'll slap you right across your face. And I said it in front of 15 pastors. I didn't care because I don't play those stupid games. It's like, look, here's the deal. If y'all don't want me to do this here, I will go and tell people about Jesus over there, where I already was, in Asia. Like, I didn't want to do it here with you, So I don't do politics, Doug. Look, if somebody says, I don't like you, I don't like your language, I don't like you smoke cigars, I don't like the look on your face, I don't like your beard, I don't like your tattoos. Okay, whatever. To me, it's not an enemy. I don't care. But when you attack the ministry that God has used me for, well, that's a whole different story. Now you're attacking Jesus. To me, that's not really an attack on me. That's an attack on the kingdom. And so I may not like somebody, but if they're doing something for God, man, keep doing what you're doing. We don't need less people ministering. You know what I'm saying? We don't need less people trying. So I might not like somebody. They might not be my flavor. But hey, man, I'm not 23 anymore. I'm 53. You know what I'm saying? I'm not playing games with that stuff. I'm on God's team. He doesn't come and defend me. He defends his own. And when I'm his, he defends me, especially when I'm doing what he called me to do. So that's my attitude about it. I think it's more about defending his work and his word. I know he loves me, but it's not like he just likes me better than that guy. It's like in this situation, I'm serving God and he's evil from jealousy. So I believe that God will judge on my side on those type of things. And if he doesn't, I don't really care anyway. You know what I mean? I really don't care.
Man, can you imagine that your whole existence is to take down some other minister or to put a wrench in his ministry? Yeah. And that's what you exist for. I got a quote over at our Cigar and Sermons Instagram account where I think it's Denzel Washington, some actor. Could be Ryan Reynolds. I don't know, Rich. I don't know, man. I'm getting old. But they said nobody attacks somebody who's
doing less than them. Doing less than them. Yeah.
Right. They always attack the one who's doing more. And but as you're recounting, this this weasel's onslaught on your existence and your ministry and stuff, I'm just sitting there just gobsmacked that again somebody's allocating that kind of energy and resource just to frickin' destroy somebody. And like you said, in regards to the vice that saddled that sad little monkey, that's jealousy and envy. And
well, you got to hear something. You're going to love this. This will make you happy. So we went to a meeting in Colombia, and I was made the director of North America, some stupid stuff. I didn't want it. And so they
No, I'm the director of North America.
They said, exactly, this guy wanted it. So he came and gave me business cards, right? Like I don't use business cards. Anyway, so he gave me business cards. I took them back to my hotel, threw them on the desk. And when they slid across the thing, I started looking, and some of them had this other guy's name on them.
Ooh.
So he's friends with these guys, and he was still working for that position. So apparently what happened was they printed business cards with both of our names on them in case he was able to weasel his way in there. So these guys it was like a little conspiracy, And I thought, this is awesome. This is the stuff Jesus does. He exposes their plots against me when I don't even care. I'm not even trying. So I grabbed 2 of those cards and I put them in my pocket. When I saw the guy that made the card, who was friend of this other guy, I said, oh, you guys spelled my name wrong on the card. And he goes, that's not possible. We checked it like 10 times. And I handed him the card with the other guy's name on it. And I said, that's not how you spell my name. Bro, you should have seen. I praised the Lord that day for allowing me to be in that situation because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, you got to love church life, man. I mean, you look at David, he's got the Philistines against him. I get that. He killed their champion, Goliath, and cut his noggin off with his own sword. So I can see that there could be some antipathy, hailing from the uncircumcised Philistines towards young squab David. But you'd think that David would have garnered, the great favor of the people of God after, he did what everybody else was chicken to do. But alas, Rich, nay, they hated David all the more. And this is the people of God, man. This is, again, not the Philistines, not the Amalekites, not those devil-worshiping, Baal mongrels and stuff. People of God coming after David for accomplishing what they couldn't or wouldn't. And again, I don't think, we intended to pick this topic, but I think we should roll with it, man, because this is something, as a brand new 59-year-old cat, Rich, that as I stare into my future and the Grim Reaper is over there and I know that my soul will be reaped and I will be pushed forth, to the presence of the Lord, although my enemies think I'm going to hell. But anyway, I think I'm going to heaven. I think I'm under grace. I think Jesus loves me. And so as I look at that meeting that is going to come, and it's getting closer, I don't want to be preoccupied with stupid, pedantic little bull crap where I'm trying to destroy somebody's life because I didn't get the squeaky toy and he did or she did. And listen, Warriors and Wildmen listener, if you're spending your existence, and especially if you call yourself a Christian, and you're spending your existence trying to ruin somebody because they bested you, or because they're more handsome or more pretty, or they got a position that again you envy, then all I got to tell you is right here and right now, cease and desist, you moron. Because when you get into that kind of zone, you line up with pure darkness. That's where Satan dwells, the accuser of the brethren. Okay? And I don't care how you dress it up. It's like, well, I'm a prophet or I'm a prophetess. And I just can't, Rich, I just can't help but call them out and tell the truth. Oh, really? You can't help it. James says if you can't help
garbage.
James says if you can't help, if you can't control your tongue, then you're going to go into this thing called a world of poison. And you're going to have it set on fire by the flames of hell itself. So you might want to think about controlling that tongue. And
Yeah.
like I said, as some old cat rich, 59, got my glasses on, my readers. I got every room in my house has readers in there, in case I freaking need to read something.
Yeah. There they
So-
are. You're ready to go.
Yeah, so as somebody who's getting too much mail from AARP, I got to tell you this, man. Don't spend your life doing that. Don't. Let it go, man.
Yeah.
Just like that song in that Disney movie, Let It Go. Just let it go,
that's
man.
right.
Walk away from that kind of poison, because that's what it is. Free your soul, man. Forgive other people. I don't care, just like, we talked about in one of the podcasts a couple of years ago, that girl that got raped, and here she is being systematically raped by like 50 plus different dudes. And she heard the Holy Spirit dredge up a verse from, I think, Mark 7 or Matthew 15, something like that, where Jesus said, it's not what goes into you, it's what comes out of you that is evil. And here she was like, these guys violated me. And however, I'm not going to let their violation, imprison my heart with bitterness, till I dry up and blow away at an early age. So let that crap go, people. Don't envy, don't be jealous. Don't talk smack. Just walk away from it. Focus on what God's called you to do.
Yeah. And let me say this is that, look, no one can take away your destiny.
No.
You can either choose to follow the Lord and do what he says and accomplish it, or you cannot. But no one's going to take it from you. No, your destiny is your destiny. And this whole concept of somebody got the job that I should have gotten, or somebody, the reality that comes from a socialist, communist mentality that your portion of the pie. And the reality is that's not a finite number. That's why we're capitalists. We don't believe that there's a pie. We believe that we can create wealth that didn't exist with innovation and labor. We can take seeds, we can buy some fruit, we can take seeds and plant and produce something that has never existed and introduce it to the market. We've now added wealth to your pie. So the whole, this person got what was mine, is really this communist, socialist mentality, this poverty mentality. The reality is that God is the one who calls you. He's the one that calls you to a position. He's the one who writes your destiny and your purpose that he planned before you were born. And so you can choose to walk in it or not. But you don't have faith when you say, that person has my job. That person got what I wanted. That person, go out and get it. Nobody's stopping you. No one can stop you from God's destiny. I told my daughter one day when I was going overseas, I said, and I had said this before, she said, why are you leaving? And I said, because your dad is God's man for this hour. And I told another pastor that, and he got mad. And I could tell that he was upset. I said, what's wrong? He's like, oh, you're God's man. I said, well, yeah. I said, I didn't say I'm God's only man. I said, that would be stupid to think. I didn't say I was God's best man, but I am God's man for this hour. And when we read the Bible, we see it all in a row like that. But these prophets were prophesying at the same time in different parts of the kingdom. Their lives overlapped. None of them were God's only man for the hour. That doesn't even make sense. And so that guy received that through his jealousy, his insecurity, through the lens of how he saw himself, because that's not what I was conveying. I was talking to somebody that I thought for sure would understand that I told my daughter I have to go because I'm God's man for this hour. He should have said, yeah, that's right, me too. And I would have high-fived him. It's not exclusive, people. You can be God's man or woman for this hour. So can somebody else, which means just what Doug was talking about. You can actually be excited about what they're doing. You can encourage them in what they're doing.
Never.
You can cheer them in what they're doing. And it doesn't take away. It actually makes people look at you and think better of you.
Right.
They think you're a better person. It makes your preaching consistent when you cheer for other people to succeed.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, when I don't know if you've watched the film Amadeus, which is about Mozart's life, and you've got the creeper Salieri, he's an accomplished musician. He's
amazing.
He's an incredible composer, and here you have this nutty kid who's just an absolute work of art, and he's an absolute
prodigy.
mess too.
Yeah,
he's just got freaking talent oozing out of him. And it ate Salieri's lunch, man. Just drove him crazy Again, like you and I said, that when that kind of stuff saddles you, man, it takes you into a zone of darkness that, again, it might not be manifest like sexual sins or gluttonous, where you're this homunculus, sweaty, Grisco, poor, type gross kind of character, but you're stewing in your juice. Your joy evaporates like a pack of smoke at the AA meeting, and it's all because that you get bested. And again, man, I don't want to be that. And I love how I said this the other day. I didn't say I'm God's man, but what I did, I said that I'm God's special boy.
Yeah.
And this person scoffed when I said I'm God's special boy. I was like, what's the problem? It's like, you're God's special boy. It's like, yeah, that's what the Bible tells me.
Right.
It's what it says. It's what it says over and how about the apple of his eye? It's to me, Rich, it's just weird where Christians, there's like, well, that's arrogant. It's like, no, I think, the other day I was feeling real kind of sad and weepy. I can't remember what was happening. But, and I think I've told you this before, but my granddaughter comes up to me and she goes, hey, Granddad. And I mean, she can light up my room no matter if I'm in the deepest, dankest corridors of hell. When Daphne comes through, it's like, hey, Granddad. She's got on like this incredible pearl necklace, hair in a, a bun. She's got a little Ralph Lauren shirt on and yoga pants. And I'm just looking at her and I'm just, okay, you're brightening.
And how old is she? She's
like 4 years old, man.
Yeah.
And
cutest.
And yeah. No, so she goes, hi, Granddad. It's like, hello, Daphne. How are you? She goes, I'm fine. She goes, you're funny and you're beautiful. And brother,
That's
when
awesome.
when I heard that was like the Holy Spirit said to me, that's what I think about you. I think you're funny.
That's cool.
And I think you're beautiful. And it was like the voice of God, man. And because you know what Satan tells you all the time?
Yeah.
You're not funny and you suck. You're ugly. You're a piece of crap. And that's all we hear constantly, blap, 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 from the devil, from Christians, from these evil, envious little jackanapes that are trying to ruin your life. That's what they tell you all the time. And the Holy Spirit's back there. It's like, hey, you're my special boy. You're the man of God for this chosen assignment. And believe it, speak it, declare it, walk in it.
Come on.
And if people have a problem with it, well, then that's their own flipping problem. But,
Right.
It's you and I and the Warrior and Wildmen male and female listeners, if that's what God's called you to do, and you've got these yapping little mongrels that are talking crap about you, do what they say down in the South many moons ago, Rich. Pay them no never mind. And realize that critics are like eunuchs in a harem. They're there every night. They see it done every night. They see how it should be done every night. But Rich, they can't do it themselves.
That's right. Well, and I want to say this too. The thing that Doug is saying, that I'm saying, is we don't have this podcast so you can agree that me and Doug are awesome. The idea of the podcast is to inspire you and encourage you. That's why we did it. We talk all the time. That's how the podcast came about, because we talk and somebody said, you should do a podcast. And we said, nobody wants to hear this. We're just talking. And they said, well, some people might. And so our reason for saying what we're saying today is to encourage you to be who God's called you to be. Not so you can believe in somebody else, believe in yourself. Believe that God's called you to do it. And it doesn't have to be preaching overseas. It doesn't have to be preaching at your local church. It could be being a great dad or a great mom to your kids. It could be being part of a small group at a house, maybe even leading a small group. It could be loving your friends and praying for your friends and the people that are around you. Look, we're the body, and the body takes all the parts. But guess what? You are called by God. You're special to God. You're not a step kid. God doesn't have step kids. So you're called, man. That's what we're trying to say. We're saying this really is an example of what we've been through, so you would know that you are important to the Lord, not so you would agree that we are.
Yeah, and you look at David in Psalm 3, man. Here, David should not have felt important. He should not have felt like he has the right to come boldly to the throne of grace because he just killed Uriah after boinking his wife Bathsheba.
Yeah.
And David still felt called, still felt protected, still felt, the absolute latitude to come storming into God's presence and ask God to defend him against Absalom, because he never lost fact that as many people who hated his guts, as much as righteous judgment was cascading down upon his life because of his dalliance with the chick who's bathing on the roof. Who does that? Anyway, he was still God's special boy, and he was still called and chosen. And I don't care what kind of, it's like Rich said, what kind of black hole you've tumbled into, what kind of garbage that might have tripped you up and sidelined you for like 10 years. You're still God's kid. You're still his son. No stepchilds, no child left behind, as George W. Bush would say. And we're talking about a restorative God, man, that his gifts and calling on you are without repentance. They stay and maintain no matter what. And he always loves using screw-ups to get a lot of glory from. And that's why, God uses Rich, because he's a screw-up. That's why God uses me, because I'm a triple screw-up. And and we're all, and Rich and I, for the Warriors and Wildmen listener, we are well aware of it. So when people say, aha, look at you, it's like, I've never hit any of this. I never hit any. And if you knew the half of it, boy, you'd really say, aha, aha.
Right.
But, it's like David's enemies did in the Psalms of War. Always, aha. Always they wanted God to like dump him, and just get rid of him.
Yep.
And God never did. He never did, man.
No.
And that's why for people, man, if you don't know it's grace from soup to nuts, there is something so wrong with you. And
you're not gonna make it.
Rich, I gotta say, I love, even though it was painful, I love the times of brokenness in my life where I wasn't believing. He was freaking carrying me or dragging my backside. That poster, Footprints in the Sand, where God's, was he following you or are you following him? I don't know how it was.
There's two sets of footprints, and then all of a sudden there's one, and he says, I noticed at the most difficult times of my life, there's only one set of footprints. Why did you leave me? That thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to counter that. I still might do it with butt prints in the sand, where God drug my ass through all my pain and stupidity and sin. And I would love to say that I just came willingly and I just folded up, Rich, like a wilting daisy in the Father's arms. That came eventually, but most of the time I'm screaming and kicking because I'm so full of rebellion. My flesh is just has to be murdered. There's no coddling my flesh at all. And I got to run to that throne daily for deliverance. So, butt prints in the sand, brother. Butt prints.
I like it. Do that.
Sand.
Well, and really to say this, so too many people are comparing themselves to other people, or they're, like you said, they're dragging their past, like their past is still there and they can't let it go and move ahead. And I want to say this, you're better off one step from hell headed towards heaven than you are one step from heaven headed towards hell. So too many people are focused on their location, and the location is nowhere near as important as the direction. And so you could have been going the wrong direction your whole life, but it only takes a moment to surrender your life to Jesus, and your life can be turned around. Now, that doesn't mean that you're already back over there and everything's great. Well, you're where you're at, but the direction of your heart and your life is way more important than the location. So you might see people that look way better than you, but it's the condition of your heart and the direction of your life that matters. And so obviously you can't fake God out. That's got to be real. But whatever you've done, wherever you're at, just turn your heart to the Lord and let's go. Let's get some miles behind us heading the right way.
Rich, that's beautiful, buddy. So what's the Warriors and Wildmen listener to do aside from what you just exhorted them to?
Yeah, live their destiny. Come on, guys, do it. That's why we're doing this podcast. I hope somebody gets fired up and lives their destiny. Yeah. Anyway, go to warriorsandwildmen.com, subscribe, follow us. We'll send you a couple emails a week. It's free. You can surely listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, but make sure you go to warriorsandwildmen.com and subscribe so we can keep in touch with you. And if you want to help support the ministry, go to the War Chest. It's tax deductible. We'll send you that information. Warriors and Wildmen, out.